on this type of drumming, which uses a lot of bass drums. We might even call it like three-way coordination between the two hands and the bass drum. And Morello wasn't terribly interested in that. He just said, well, why don't you go ahead and write it yourself and make it your book? So I did, and that book is called Drum Set Control. I don't know, do we have a copy of that in the library? If not, well, I'll leave a copy, but anyhow. That book basically takes what I call the Joe Morello solo style. Again, I've tried to go beyond that in making it more complex than most drummers would actually play. Some of the exercises, in other words, involve more bass drum than hands. You're playing twice as many. The exercises I've chosen to demonstrate today and for you to look at are not the most difficult exercises in the book. In fact, you know, I've only been able to maybe give you 2 or 3 examples of everything that we go into, but I thought it'd be fun to talk about it and talk about the style and then perhaps answer some questions. The third book, the first one, I don't know if I even mentioned the first one. The first couple pages are from a book called Accent on Accents. And like I said, it involves the study of singles and doubles and combinations. Paradiddles, basically, but many more combinations. What Elliot and I did essentially is just to write all the stickings that we could come up with or that were possible in eighth notes for a measure, and then all the stickings that were possible in triplets. And then actually put it into 3 different categories. The first one was the accent was always following the double stroke. And when you think of it, that's what we do when we play a paradiddle. Para-double. We accent right after the double stroke. I like that idea because it gives us a lot of time to raise the hand to play the accent. In other words, you know, playing the accent is no problem. We're on single stroke roll, while we only have half as much time to prepare to play the accent. Naturally, it's a different sound, isn't it? Single stroke is very clean, and paradiddles do not have the cleanliness, but paradiddles are extremely fast because we can bounce them. Then we played the accent before the double. And when I wrote this book, I was thinking of like we do that on a ratum-a-cue. Single ratum-a-cue, double ratum-a-cue, double ratum-a-cue. And then if you want an accent both before and after the double stroke, which we've gone into, I think of the 6-stroke roll. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, where there's an accent after the double, and then immediately following the second accent we go into another double. So I felt that we had tradition behind us when we wrote these things and put the accents in both before, after, and did it on 8 notes and triplets. We also in the book go into 3/4 time and 5/4 time, which we won't bother with today, but that's a basic idea. Then we also get into stickings where we say we're accenting every 4th one and every 5th one. These are things that give some drummers a lot of trouble, because then of course the accent keeps occurring on a different part of the beat. And the basic thing to be able to do when playing those exercises is to keep a steady beat going, either with the bass drum or with the hi-hat. So if you can do that, then eventually in practicing over and over again, you'll get so you can feel these rhythms, even though at first they'll feel very unusual to you. How many people know what a para-triplet is? If I say para-triplet, raise your hand if you know what a para-triplet is. It's not a new thing. Gene Krupa wrote it in a book in about 1936, so it's been around a long time. It's a paradiddle, but the rhythm that we play when we play the paradiddle is triplets. So we combine the 2 names, paradiddle and triplet, and call it a para-triplet. This is a simple example of what I'm talking about, where we accent every 4th note regardless of what the rhythm is. And so the syncopation can be pretty complex, especially if you've never tried it before. What usually happens at first is your bass drum tries to follow the accent, which is wrong, of course, because the bass drum should be steady. Then when we get into 4-way coordination, that involves keeping nothing steady at all, except hopefully the rhythm that you're playing. And then we treat all 4 limbs equally. So we've got the concept of, like I say, 3-way coordination, where we play the bass drum as the 3rd limb, and we have the concept of 4-way coordination, where we play the 2 feet as equal partner to the hands. Generally speaking, I have yet to hear a drummer that is really accomplished in that style. We think of people like Elvin Jones, and I'm sure some of you have heard other drummers that I haven't heard. But the concept is so far-reaching. You can, really play 4 different rhythms at the same time, which very few people do. You can play 2 hi-hats at the same time, one with the left foot, one with the right foot, which I believe I've only heard of one drummer in the world even attempting to do. But you see how little has been scratched when it comes to thinking in terms of playing 4 limbs, either all of them independent or some of them complementing the others. I have to admit that I haven't developed many things along that line, which is kind of unfortunate because the concept, as far as we're concerned, went back to about 1949. How many years? That's 40-some years, really. But we're encouraging drummers nowadays to think in those terms. And although Elliot and I were the first ones to write a book on 4-way coordination, there are other people that have written things on 4-way coordination since then. And it's not looked upon as being as strange as it was like 40 years ago. When the book came out, I remember Henry Adler said, well, he'd publish it, but he thought the book was 20 years ahead of its time. And I think that's probably pretty accurate. Over the years, I don't think we've really pushed the book. I don't even talk about it to anyone except people like you. But if you start to think about it, 4-way coordination using all 4 limbs really gives you a heck of a lot more freedom. You obviously have to play with a group that will tolerate that to begin with. But if you get with the right group, I think the possibilities of a drummer coming up with many more ideas is really, really great. So let's take a look at those exercises. The first page is simply, like I said, combinations of singles and doubles. And you can see that we start out very simply. The first exercise is what we would call a long roll. The second exercise is what we would call a paradiddle. The third exercise would be like a long roll for 1 beat and 4 single strokes for the second beat. The fourth exercise could be thought of as a paradiddle with a couple singles at the end. You see, there's nothing really terribly surprising about the exercises. The only thing is that, to be comfortable with playing all of the things on this page, you'd probably have to practice it every single day for many months before you could really knock them off. If I were a jazz drummer, I think this is one of the things I would do. I would go through this particular page every day. Now that's only my interpretation. I'm not saying that this is, something that everybody should do. Everybody has to make up their own mind what they want to study and practice. But it certainly makes sense to me that if you can control your singles and doubles and putting accents in different places, for most normal things that you're going to be called upon to play, you would have no trouble. Now that means even on xylophone. How many of you play xylophone or marimba? Have you studied the Porgy and Bess part? How do you stick it? Do you stick it single stroke or no how?
There's some single sticking, but a lot of double sticking in there.
Yeah. Yeah, you use a double right hand. Yeah. See, we've got 3 interpretations of that part. You can do it single stroke, just a double deep, or a double left, or like you said, a double right, and I always point out that again, you've got a selection to make when you play the part. It depends on how fast the conductor takes it. It also depends on how clean you want the part. Single stroke is obviously going to be the cleanest. Using double strokes will probably be faster. Using a double right hand that you use, I think gives you more of a swing feeling when you play. Like so I think that what we're talking about is we have to have control of our hands as far as single strokes are concerned and as far as coordinating doubles are concerned. The only one that I want to kind of look at and play for you today is number 5. Reason for that is because it does have an offbeat accent. You see, if I think of this as cut time, and of course I can think of it as 2/4 time and think of the exercise being 16th notes too, couldn't I? If I think of it as cut time, I'll play the bass drum just twice while I'm playing that exercise. And what I'm trying to do as I play is raise the stick equally on those two axes. Now, of course, I can then play the same thing with the hi-hat. Keep the hi-hat still. That, of course, gives me the independence to use the bass drum for whatever else I want to use the bass drum for. The other thing that, well, let's try that as eighth notes now. In eighth notes, I would double up on the bass drum. This whole page, playing every one maybe 2 or 3 times, get through this whole page in about 4 or 5 minutes. If you did that every day, it would be a marvelous warm-up. If we flip to the second page, we have the same thing, but now we have it in triple. So if I take also, these exercises are designed so you can play just one measure at a time. They are also put together so that it'll work if you use the entire line. In other words, I can play the entire line on page 2. I can play the entire line rather than just separate measures if I desire that. Now, look to the next page. And we're getting into some of those trickier stickies. The first one we want to look at is called the paratriplet. And if you've never played it, of course, it's going to give you trouble. We use the Swiss method of notation, by the way. A lot of you might not be familiar with it, but it's very simple. Anything above the line is right hand. Below the line is left hand. The reason Elliot and I chose that system was then we could write 4 drum sets for both hands and feet without using the letters. And we thought, sure, it's going to be a little difficult at first to get used to it, but 2 reasons why we think it works. One is you're not going to sight read these exercises anyhow. So all you have to do is figure it out. Right, left, right, right, left, right, left, left, right, left, right, right, left, right, left, left. You know. Just go one note at a time to figure it out, and then just practice it over and over. The other is, like I said, the other reason is because it does look cleaner than writing all those left, rights, etc. Other people have come up with other ideas that try to eliminate the left, rights too. Maybe some of you know some of the other ideas, like circling a note that's to be played with the left hand, and not circling a note to be played. But let's take a look at this paratriplet. You want to play along, feel free to play along. Just tap it on your leg. But you have to do 2 things for me. You've got to keep a steady beat going, either with the bass drum or the hi-hat, and then play the exercise. Now, play the triplets first. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. The accent is with the bass drum, then immediately after the bass drum, then before the 4th bass drum. The accent's with it, then it's before the 4th. Then after the 7th bass drum, it's before the 4th. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Okay? These, now, once you learn to play a sticking, then it's always nice to fool around with it and see what you accomplish or what you can accomplish. On this paratriplet, for instance, I remember years ago, I'm not sure who it was, I think it might have been Sonny Igo. Remember Sonny Igo, anybody? All right, maybe it was Ed Shaughnessy, because I know you remember Ed Shaughnessy. Okay, let's say it was Ed Shaughnessy. Did this thing for me, and it was very simple. He played the paratriplet with the left hand on the snare drum and the right hand on the cymbal in a jazz context. And it sounds like this. automatic syncopation that is quite clever on the snare drum. Other things you can do is just play a paradiddle around the drum set, and of course each paradiddle then is going to start on a different part of the beat. Or a thing that we pursue in the drum set control is just to move one hand. What if I put one hand up here and move my left hand? If I'm playing rap music, all I have to do is switch off the snares. I've got a wild Latin beat. I'm always talking about playing everything with a steady beat, but as I mentioned, we can do that with the hi-hat too. Now that's all based on just one sticking. That sticking is what we call a para-triplet, and it's an accent every 4 notes. The next one shows you how to accent every 5 notes. There are 2 ways, basically, that I do. One is what I call a paradiddle 1. Now that's a strange name, but I call it a paradiddle 1 because I think of it that way. It's a paradiddle. Separate. Usually I accent the 1, so I don't accent the paradiddle. There's 1, there's 1, there's 1, there's 1, and you can take it around the set. You know, whatever you like to do, split it up among the different drums. What we've done here is to take that paradiddle 1 and put it into triplet form. So let me play number 2 for you, and you can see how I bracketed it. It doesn't start on the first note, which is just an accent. The paradiddle starts on the second note, so it would be like this. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. You can see again, the accents shift, don't they? How many beats long is that whole thing? How many beats long is that pattern? How many? It's in 4/4 time, and it's 4 beats to 1 measure 4/4 time, but the pattern itself, how many? 5. Yeah. You can see you'll have the rim shot or the accent on 1 of the first measure, then on 2 of the second measure, on 3 of the third measure, and finally on 4 of the last measure, and that's where we cut it off. Okay. So that's accent in every 5th note. If I play with the hi-hat one, I can do various things. One thing that I always practice is putting the accent on the cymbal and reinforce it with the bass drum. Okay, but that's only one of many dozens of things you can do with it. The next one is what I call skip down to number 4. It's a fully open 5-stroke roll. In passing out these little things, I thought it would be instructive to you people, if you want to use some of these exercises, to write it with both the right hand and the left hand leading. But I'll probably only demonstrate one of them. If we go to number 4, we have what we call a fully open 5-stroke roll. The concept of fully open rudiments belongs to Joe Morello. It's a very simple thing. Usually when we play a 5-stroke roll, we play like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. we give the last note, which is a single note, twice as much value as the preceding notes, which are played as double strokes. Joe Morello came up with the idea of giving the accented note the same value as the double strokes. So we get this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4. And let's see, in triplets would be 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2. I found out that if you can do this, try it once. Tap your foot. Okay. Make triplets. Don't play. Count. See if you can say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and keep it going. If you can say it and keep your foot going or one of them's going in a steady rhythm, then you can easily learn to play it. Because it has to be up here in your head, doesn't it? Let's try that open 5-stroke roll now. Well, I said to look at number 4, but I didn't play number 4 for you, did I? What did I do? I was thinking it in 4/4 time, and this is written in 5/4 time. For 5/4 time, what I do is very simple. I just play the high sock on 2 and then on 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then rest on 5. 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now I'll play that. The reason I wrote it in 5/4 time, or at least gave you this exercise, is because it fits perfectly into 3 measures of 5/4 time. And I kind of wanted to in 1 measure of 5/4 time. In 1 measure of 5/4 time, you play the complete pattern. The second measure, you repeat the pattern starting with the opposite hand. Okay. 3, 4, 5. 3, 4, 5. 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. See how that fits? 2, 3, 4, 5, 2, 3, 4, 5. First time you play that in a jazz job in 5/4 time, you're sure going to throw someone. The triple stroke exercise, we look down to number 6. All of these exercises, if you work on them, you can work on them with your feet too. In other words, you can play them with your feet instead of your hands. But I wanted to throw in a couple of exercises that include triple strokes. 2 reasons for that. Number 1 is it's now one of the 40 rudiments. Are you aware of that? The triple stroke roll is actually one of the 40 rudiments. We used to only have 26. When we had 26, we didn't have the triple stroke. Now we've got 40. And if you look at the list of 40 rudiments, it includes the triple stroke. Wow. Triple stroke is like a double stroke only with one more note, of course. I like to think it's the same as the ride cymbal beat. I don't play it any better when I play it on the snare drum, probably play it worse than when I play it on the ride cymbal. So it would make sense to try to play the ride cymbal with the left hand. If I were on a job and I had to play 4 hours a night and it was a jazz job, I'd play with my left hand on the ride cymbal, just to build up my right hand, which is always weaker than the left hand. The exercise I'd like to demonstrate is number 8. What it is, it's a single, a double, and a triple. The single being accented. After it gets going, if you practice it, it'll have a feel like a parody, but it's 6 notes instead of 4. That double and that triple. So if you've got a good left hand, on my right cymbal beat, this wouldn't be much of a problem. Okay, take another page. Now we're getting into the study of coordinating the hands with the bass drum. So we're thinking in terms of, like I said, kind of three-way coordination. You can play these exercises all by themselves without the hi-hat, but eventually I think you'll want to start incorporating the hi-hat. The hi-hat then being the steady rhythm, and your bass drum then being, like I say, almost like a third hand. Joe Morello is a real expert at playing this kind of stuff. Have any of you heard any of Joe Morello's things on records, like Shortland Bread, where he does a lot of this kind of drumming? In 5/4 1 2 3 drums, all that kind of stuff. I haven't heard Morello play for years. Have any of you heard him play recently?
Yeah, last year.
They say that he's perhaps the greatest snare drummer in the world. What I mean by that, he can do more with his hands than
He is.
he is. You're sure of that?
Positive.
Positive, okay. All right. Then if that's true, then you'd want to practice the type of things that Joe Morello plays. Right?
Right.
So let's take a look at some of them. The first two exercises are exercises that I wrote, but they're based on Joe Morello's, what's he? Can't remember what the tune was. Might have been 1 2 3 drums, I'm not sure. But he starts out with a solo that basically is 3 notes and then a bass drum, like this. That's all it is. But he plays it so that he'll start it on the offbeat, he'll start it on the onbeat, he'll play it as a quarter note triplet, he'll play it as 16th notes, he'll play it as 8th notes. What I did then, as soon as I analyzed his solo, was to isolate the different rhythms into one exercise. Take a look at exercise number 2. We're on page 4 now, in case anyone is not at all sure. Page 4, exercise 2. All it is those 4 notes, but written 4 different ways. Now, written 1, 2, 3, 5 different ways. 16th notes, 1. Triplets, 1. 8th notes, 1. Quarter note triplets, and then just quarter note. So if you can play this exercise, then that means you can play it in all those rhythms. Again, I'll keep the hi-hat steady, and well, let's count first of all. It would be 1 and 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4 in 1. Da 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 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 4 1. 3 and 4 in. 2 da da 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's kind of what Morello did on, I think it was Watusi drums. Like I said, after putting that book together for Morello, I then put together the book that we call Drum Set Control. Very simple concept. Just go around the drum, the way we did it. But I said to myself, I'm not going to use any crossovers. See, we could do that. I could do that, couldn't I? But I said, I'm not going to write any crossovers in this book. Any time I were to continue the pattern and have to use a crossover, I'll play a bass drum. So if I do that, now the next one will have to be a crossover, I'll play a bass drum. Then I can continue the pattern with no problem. Actually, I can go farther than that because I can really do that much Then I started dividing it into just one note with the bass drum, two notes with the bass drum, three notes with the bass drum, four notes with the bass drum. So it came out like this. One, two, you can go in two different directions. Three, four. So that's the idea. The book is written so that we never really mix them up too much. But once you learn to do it again, you can mix it up as much as you want. See? So again, you develop the technique of just playing isolated ideas and then try to play them in, mix them up in a solo context. Going around the drum set one note at a time on a drum is possible, but it's also possible two notes at a time. So that's another thing. If you look at exercise 3 and 4, it's going around the drum set, two notes on each drum, and then a bass drum. First and eighth notes, and then the triples. Here's the triple. Accent the bass drum. Try to play the drum soft, but accent the bass drum. Now you're not going to play that way in a solo, but it's good practice because then you start hearing where that bass drum falls. Especially in the triplet form where you have to play the second note of the triplet. Usually when I have a student, they get through the first measure, about the second measure, the bass drum, instead of being the second note of the triplet, becomes the third note of the triplet, and then they're off already. So you have to really learn to play the bass drum like right after that. If you don't, it's always going to come out, and that's too late. Now you can also just practice the bass drum part. You go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Here it is, the eighth note triple. Okay. All right. Patterns around the drum set. This is just another one of the singles around the set, which I've already showed you. But let's play it on number 6. I played it as eighth notes. So here's what it sounds, the same pattern I previously played as triplets. Skip 7 and 8, they're just variations of the same idea. Go to the next page. We can also skip a lot of that because we're running out of time. What I've indicated here on page 5 is that you can play triples, what we call a 3-stroke rough. If anyone has to leave for a class, don't be embarrassed about it. But I'll just keep talking as long as people are still here. Or until they kick us out, right? Never approved. The 3-stroke rough. When I play it, I bounce it. Now, if you play it just with wrist action, you can probably get it about this fast. If you bounce it, you can get it. In other words, what I'm doing is laying my sticks down as if I'm going to play a flam, and then letting the left hand bounce. You can also think of it this way. I think of it as 2 grace notes with my left hand, but one grace note before the principal note, the other grace note after the principal note. Usually we play left, left, right, don't we? Well, what I do is I still play that double with the left hand. But the second note of that double, I throw in the right hand. Now that gives me an opportunity to play it much closer together, because I'm actually playing in between two grace notes instead of after two grace notes. You see this? Here's the two grace notes. We usually play it after. Now, of course, you're backward, don't you? I mean, you've got to look at it like this. Right? Then, stick it in between the two grace notes, you can see that it doesn't take as much dimension of it. So it can be played faster. I use that with the symphony orchestra. Every time I've got a part that calls for what we would call a rough on the downbeat, like say we've got 4 eighth notes, and the composer has written, I don't play a regular rough, I play this one. I play one grace note before it, one grace note after it. You can't tell that there's one grace note after the beat. All you hear is and it's easier for me to get it at a faster tempo, because if I've got to squeeze 2 grace notes in, it takes more time than just 1 grace note. Stravinsky is where I use it a lot, when I play Stravinsky. Let's take a look at it now, applied to the drum set. Look at number 5. It's written like this, skiddity boom, but I play it like this, boom, boom. So it's not going to be the way it looks in the rhythm. It's going to be all that. Instead of that, it's number 6 is just a single and then the verb. Bouncing both hands, which would sound like this. Take a look at number 5. This is a little short solo using the 4-stroke. I'll play it slowly. Again, it will not be perfectly in rhythm because I'll be playing the 4-stroke faster than it's written. That I like to work on is the next one, which is a paradiddle. And what I'm saying here is that if you want to work up a very fast paradiddle, especially that one thing that I mentioned, the paradiddle 1 idea, if you want to work up a very fast paradiddle, again, think of the triple stroke. All right? That triple stroke, if you analyze it, has more space between the first and second note than between the second note and the third note, because we're bouncing it. Like bouncing a rubber ball against concrete. The more you squash down on the rubber ball, the closer together those little, the ball bounces. So we're actually got enough time then to slip the other hand in. I'll put it on the snare drum. So those are paradiddles, but they're paradiddles where I'm practically bouncing most of it. Out of the 4 notes of a paradiddle, I'm letting 3 notes bounce. Okay? I'm not sure that that's absolutely valid, but I am sure that if you practice it, just starting with the right hand and with the left hand, it is going to improve your paradiddle. I've thought about it a lot, and I'm not sure when I go hand to hand whether I can really do what I'm talking about, because it's a different motion very close together. But my paradiddle seem to improve when I practice it that way. Okay, let's get into the 4-way coordination. 4-way coordination, what we have here at the beginning of the next page is what would be single stroke roll. So if I look at it as right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, all I have to do is play one of the lefts with the left foot instead of the left hand. or one of the right hands with the right foot. And again, I can come up with very simple patterns. The first one that I've written is right, Now, we can do various things with this. One of the simplest things to do is to put the right hand on the hi-hat. And we can do that with any exercise that is involved with that sticking, because the hi-hat will automatically close right after playing, because you're playing right hand followed by a left hand. Now that's not the only way we do it in four-way, but that's the way we start. Then we get involved in playing both hands and feet. If you look at number 7, you're playing pendulum with the feet on your feet. And then you train yourself to play double strokes with the right hand. So you're playing. Where I have the arrow going down, that's what you use. Your hands are going to right, your feet are going right. And we can do that combination as many ways as we want. If you turn the page again, I'm rushing because I'm sure we're running out of time. We have an exercise at the top that just shows you the different ways of combining your four limbs. There are actually only 15 different ways of doing it. And if you get used to playing all 15 ways, then you can quite quickly figure out things that you can do with each hand. If you look at those examples that I've given at the 3/8, for instance, 4/8, they are examples of playing your feet in a different manner against the ride cymbal beat, either in 3/4 time or 4/4 time. 4/8 is kind of interesting. If I play 4/8 for you, kind of a ride beat, but I'm playing it faster than normal. Here's one thing that I like to demonstrate. I'll play a normal ride beat with my left hand against the hi-hat. Now I'll play my foot in 6/4 time, and I will play a ride beat in 6/4 time with my right hand. I hope. Dotted quarters over here, you know. So quarter notes here, at a faster tempo, dotted quarters here. I'm sure you can think of many other things to do. You know, we're talking about four-way coordination, so you can split this half in one tempo, this half in another tempo. Thousands of things that I can conceive in my mind that I can't play. But anything you can think of, you can play. I mean, if you can conceive of it, you can learn to do it. Conceiving it is perhaps easier, but some drummers don't even bother to conceive anything, which is too bad. You've got to, think of what can I do with the material that I've got. If you look at the bottom of the page, what we have here is how to play 3/4 time in 4/4. And it's very simple. Now this is an Elvin Jones idea. You take 3/4 time, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. That's number 5. Then, in 5/8, you play around with it 4/4 time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Okay? Then the 5B, you add your left hand and your bass drum and your hi-hat. 4 times. 1. So you've got all 4 limbs involved in playing. In the book we have 12 of those. 12 different ones, but you can sit down and write 100 yourself. The last page, what I'm kind of talking about here, we got to be out of here in 5 minutes. Right? Last page. Okay. The last page is an exercise that I like to use, and at the bottom of the page, I express the 7 different ways that I like to practice all exercises. One is to base them on the accent. One is going to base them on the note after the accent, base them on the note before the accent, base them on the after beat, which means you hi-hats on the beat, you base them as in bossa nova. I think it's my own. Did I start right there? And then base them according to the triple. The idea is to keep all of those going and playing whatever you want on the snare drum. This exercise, for instance, like I said, is one that I like to do. I know one that's missing. I just wrote this morning. If you want to add it, it would be number 8, and that's on the bass drum on the first note of a double stroke or a triple stroke. Now let me demonstrate that. That's the way the exercise is written, as a matter of fact. It's a paradiddle, and notice the bass drum is on the diddle. First note of the diddle. Then 4 singles, no bass drum on the diddle, and 2 diddles. So here's exercise 1. The other exercises also, which gives you a more syncopated bass drum. Now, if you really want a challenge, try taking these exercises, and you'll probably have to write them out. Play the same things in 8th note triples. Here's number 1. Here's number 2. Those are the things that I wanted to present today, and that's why I wrote this whole thing. If you're thinking of four-way coordination, like I said, there's more ways to play it than just a single-stroke roll I do. You can take all the exercise out of the drum set control book and play in four-way instead of three-way. In other words, you can just divide the feet. Whereas four-way, if I have an example that the drum set control, if you're trying to do something like alternating the feet. breaking up the feet rather than just using one foot. The other thing that, like I said, if you want to think of in terms of playing the bishop on the accent, just take any simple pattern. Let's try the pair of triplet. Okay? Here's the pair of triplet. With the bass drum with the accent. On the opposite. Now on like a bossa nova. Here's being quarter note triplets. I don't know if I can do it. I thought, because I'm really playing triplets, aren't I? You want a real trick, try playing quarter note triplets against it. You've got quarter notes here, quarter note triplets there, then put down the quarter notes, triplets, dotted quarter notes, and you're playing off them. I guess that's all I want to present.